Do you remember the movie Serendipity? It was built around the idea that chance encounters sometimes lead to unexpected connections. Last Saturday night, I attended a McGill-Tulane 50-year class reunion. The funny thing is, it wasn't my class reunion, and somehow I left with better memories than many of the people who actually graduated from the school. I went there with my friend Karen, and like many events where you don't know everyone, I found a seat and struck up a conversation with the gentleman beside me. What happened next reminded me that life sometimes writes better stories than we do. As we talked, I mentioned Wragg Swamp. Now, if you're not from Mobile, Wragg Swamp was once a vast wetland that stretched across what is now one of the busiest commercial areas of our city. Shopping centers, businesses, roads, and neighborhoods eventually replaced it, and today many people have no idea it was ever there. This is where the shopping centers are today. This is where Wragg Swamp once stood. And where the X is, it's where we lived. As a child, our maid Tilly would walk my brother Keith and me down the hill to the edge of Wragg Swamp. We'd pick dewberries that grew thick and long as her thumb. When we returned home, she'd wash the berries and our hands and announce that we were making berries in a blanket. That simple dessert became one of my favorite childhood memories. So there I was at a reunion talking about Wragg Swamp, and the man beside me smiled and said he had grown up on the edge of the swamp too. Suddenly we weren't strangers anymore. We shared stories about the swamp, the wildlife, and the feeling of loss when it was drained and developed. We even admitted to sharing a certain satisfaction when some of the houses built on the old swampland later developed foundation problems. Not because we wished anyone harm, but because the land seemed determined to remind people of what it once was. As we continued talking, the conversation took another unexpected turn. I mentioned that I had taught at C School. His eyes widened. He told me he owned a diving company and had spoken with the folks at C School just the day before. Then he explained that the pool at his facility is now being used for STCW water survival training. At that point, I started laughing. What were the odds? A conversation that began with dewberries and a lost swamp suddenly led to maritime training and offshore work. Then I showed him a photograph of the Global Pioneer, a dive construction vessel where I served as first mate. The Global Pioneer wasn't just another vessel. She supported dive operations and ROV work offshore. Looking at that photograph, I realized how strange and wonderful the path of life can be. One moment you're a child walking through a swamp picking berries. The next, you're standing watch aboard a 365-foot offshore construction vessel in the Gulf. And somehow those two worlds meet again decades later through a conversation with a stranger at a reunion. Driving home, I thought about how often we assume our lives are divided into chapters: childhood, career, friendships, travel, retirement. But maybe they're not separate chapters at all. Maybe they're all part of one continuous story. Sometimes it takes a chance meeting to reveal the connections. A swamp, a berry patch, a diving company, a training pool, a vessel named Global Pioneer, a conversation between two people who had never met before. The lesson I took away is simple. Places don't disappear when they're bulldozed. People don't vanish when they leave our lives. Experiences don't stop shaping us when they're over. They continue living in our memories, our stories, and sometimes in the most unexpected conversations. This week, think about a place that shaped you: a creek, a neighborhood, a field, a swamp. Who knows? You may discover that someone else is still carrying a piece of that story too. Add a comment below that tells me what creek, shopping center, or place that creates a memory for you.